recent release of Mario Kart World for the Switch 2 and Sonic Racing Cross Worlds coming soon, it really got me in a racing mood and made me think to myself, why haven't we had a Dragon Ball racing game? We've gotten all sorts of fighters, RPGs, mobile games, weird games like Breakers, and even Dragon Ball Connect, but we've never seen a racing game or dating game, but we'll talk about that some other time. Hey, what's going on, guys? You're watching Modding Corner, and today we're going to be putting together ideas for a Dragon Ball racing game. I'm going to be breaking this video down into a series of questions that I asked myself when writing. We have plenty of racing games to take inspiration from, like the aforementioned Sonic Racing and Mario Kart series, but there's also plenty of other racing games to take from, like F-Zero and Crash Team Racing. What characters are going to be in the roster, and better yet, what karts could we see in the roster? What items can we see, assuming this game is a party kart type of game with an emphasis on multiplayer? We gotta come up with some fun items. What game modes should we have? Stuff like Grand Prix, Versus Mode, Battle Mode. What should the maps be? Dragon Ball has a large list of iconic locations we can adapt into stages, so let's see what we could adapt in this video. Now this video is going to be very different than what I usually make, so if you enjoy the video, be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And with all that being said, let's get started. Okay, so feel free to get on my case about how I'm about to describe this, because I am not a developer, nor am I some god-level racing game player, so I don't really know the certain terminologies. I'm just a casual who spent most of his life playing Mario Kart games. So basically, I want the game to feel like Mario Kart. Yeah, was it that obvious? Now, Mario Kart World is out at the time I'm releasing this video. Hell, I'm probably playing it as you're watching this video. And it has tons of new mechanics like wall driving and jumping, which really fits something like Mario, but maybe not so much for Dragon Ball. So for the mechanics, I want to pull from a game that would fit Dragon Ball. Something like Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed. Now in this game, you can drive across the land, air, and sea, but for Dragon Ball, I think we should focus on the land and the air. Sorry Vegeta, we all know you operate your best underwater. Now let's just say the karts in this game will be designed in two different modes. A driver mode where you stick to the ground and you can go faster, but have the risk of the ground paths being filled with obstacles like cars, crevices, and explosions. It'll also be a lot easier to catch you on the ground with items than in the air. Now the other part is a flight mode, which allows you to take to the air in order to better dodge obstacles and take advantage of different shortcuts. There will be a button for you to freely switch between these modes, and the map design will be very open to allow that. We'll also include some racing game staples like drifting and a baby antenna so people don't go off the course, but this is a Dragon Ball racing game, so I figure we can take advantage of that by adding transformation. Now you're probably wondering, what can transformations do for you in the race? Well, I figured that we should have 4 stages for your character to transform to per race. Base form, super form, an ultimate form, and an ultra mode. These transformations will vary by character, but will essentially act the same. We can also have some customization involved with some characters that have plenty of forms to choose from, and we can see which forms affect which stats can be gained. And we'll get into the stats in a little bit. Now let's talk about how you can get these transformations. Across the map there will be key orbs everywhere. Think of it like Kakarot or Dokkan. When you get enough key, you can either transform or unleash a unique blast attack on your opponent. For example, if you get 5 key orbs with Goku, you can fire a Kamehameha. If you get 10 orbs, you can transform into a Super Saiyan and juice all your stats. Speaking of stats, let's finally get into that. Now stats I want to focus on in this game are HP, Air Boost, Land Boost, Charging, Handling, and Limit Break. Now you're probably wondering, a kart game with an HP system, that sounds like a terrible idea, and you may be right, but hear me out. Characters will have a hit point meter, meaning whenever you hit them with something like an item or a beam, you lose a point. Every character will start with 3 HP, with you gaining more or less depending on your characters and transformations, as well as how you race. For example, someone like Vegeta would start off with 3 hit points, and will gain an extra one upon transformation, while characters like Piccolo will have regeneration that you can spend your ki on. Now if you lose all of your hit points, you'll still be able to participate in the race, however you will lose access to all your active transformations, ki, and buffs. Now here's the kicker. Every lap there will be a Senzu Bean hidden, and if you grab that Senzu Bean you'll gain all of your buffs back. But if you get hit again on low power, you die, which means you have to charge your energy back up to respawn. Now Air Boost and Land Boost will mostly be dependent on the kart you choose. For example, say you're riding in the Flying Nimbus, you'll get a little extra air boost speed. On the other hand, if you're taking Goku's car, you'll have more ground speed. Now the charge meter will be dependent on the character you pick. For example, someone like Goku or Vegeta will get more charge at a regulated pace, while characters like Gohan and Piccolo will take a while to charge their unique abilities because they are a tad stronger. Also, characters like the androids or Bulma will likely have fast automatic ki regen for their unique abilities. Handling will also be dependent on the character. For example, a heavy character like Broly would handle like a Bowser or Wario in Mario Kart, while Goku and Gohan would handle like a Mario or Luigi. And Limit Break, now Limit Break will be the ultimate attack of the game. You can access it on the final lap of the race, and depending on how much ki you have left, you can do some ridiculous stuff. It'll basically act as a final charge attack, draining whatever ki you may have left. For example, Goku may have a ki limit break where he fires off a ginormous spirit bomb on the track. Or if he's in the back, he can activate a mastered Ultra Instinct to gain a boost equivalent to a bullet bill, and he'll dodge whatever he comes across. It will all be dependent on how much ki you have and how far you are in the race, since you'll also be using ki to stay ahead the whole race. Now here's where the interesting questions come in. Are you willing to stay ahead the whole race? Or do you want to stay behind and save on ki for a limit break to give it your all on the final lap and take the lead? The choice is yours. So overall, this system would be like a combination of the modern Sonic racing games and Mario Kart's coin grabbing mechanics with the ki, as well as some elements from other Dragon Ball games by making you manage your health and ki. Now, like I said, I'm not a game developer, but I think a system like this would not only be fun for a racing game, but it's also something you can only get from the Dragon Ball IP. Now, let's get into the fun part, which is the characters. Now, since this is a Dragon Ball game, I want to take this as a chance to add some oddball characters. Maybe not as odd as some of the characters we see in Mario Kart World. Seriously, we got a penguin in the game. But characters who typically don't get much spotlight in the games. But first, how many characters should the game have? I was thinking there could be about 8 characters per race. Since there's going to be plenty of beams flying around, you wouldn't want to make too many characters playable at once as to not turn your PC into a nuclear bomb. So because of that, I think there should be about 16 characters at launch, with about 2 to 3 carts between each of them. Now the first character is obviously Goku. He'll have carts like the Nimbus, his car from Filler, and maybe one of his motorcycles. Seriously, why did Toriyama draw him in so many motorcycles? He'll be based on Super, so he'll have Super Saiyan, God, and Blue as his transformations, as well as one of his limit breaks being Ultra Instinct. Next is obviously Vegeta, and he'll have stuff like the Saiyan Pod, maybe the car he drove Bulma around in GT, and his transformations will be like Goku, except he'll get Ultra Ego. Assuming the manga ever gets adapted by the time this game ever comes out. If not, then back the Blue Evolution for you. Next is Piccolo. He's gonna have his car from the Z filler and the plane he drove in Dragon Ball Super Superhero, since I think that would be funny for him to have. He'll also have his DBS superhero forms and will be able to use his ki to regenerate his HP. His limit break could be him using Giant Orange Piccolo or something to run across the map. Next is Gohan. He'll have his car from the We Are Angels ending. He can also use the Nimbus as well. He'll activate Beast of Fire massive beams that'll do about 2 HP. Next is Future Trunks. I would love to see a potential Xeno Trunks Ultra connected to the Xenoverse series, but he could drive around in his time machine and use that one car from the filler art. His limit break will be him using the Sword of Hope for offensive and defensive protection, kind of like a triple red shell. So yeah, that's just some of the characters I think will be a guarantee. But let's go over some villains I'd love to see in the game. Obviously, Frieza could come with his little Frieza pod and his spaceship. He'll be based off Super as well, and will go from first form to base to gold, assuming we also don't get Black Frieza by then. His limit break could either be his Supernova, Death Ball, or that Death Beam cage he did in the Tournament of Power. Next is Cell. He can also ride around the time machine and have his transformations go into perfect. His limit break can either be something like a Cell Max transformation to match Piccolo, or maybe he can have a built-in revival feature. God bless whoever needs to make that Cell Max model though. Next character actually won't be Boo, because I don't even think he has basic motor skills, so I think we should just jump right into Super. And the first character will be Beerus. Of course, he'll have his iconic Beerus cart from the main manga. No, I didn't make that up. And he'll also be able to drive Whis' Cube. Also, Whis is unplayable, sorry, I love you, Whis. His limit break will be a Hakai, which will be able to just hard wipe one player off the map and send them right to the revival screen. The next character will be Android 17, and honestly, you have plenty of options. You got the truck he stole in Z, the car they went on a joyride with in the future, and this sick ass hover motorcycle. His limit break can be, bomb.
Oh, these aren't homemade, they were made in a factory. A bomb factory. They're bombs.
The next two will be Goku Black and Baby Vegeta. Just take whatever I said about Goku and Vegeta and make it evil. I guess Baby could turn into a grade 8 for his LB though, and Goku Black can have the Dark Nimbus. So yeah, now that we got the established characters out the way, let's add some characters that don't get into the games often, like Master Roshi. He can ride around in his Baby Ghidorah and have his max power be his LB. Also, we can add After Image Strike to him to traumatize all the early Sparking Zero players. Next, if we're adding OG Dragon Ball characters, then we gotta add Classic Bulma since she has far too many options to choose from. But if I had to pick just 3, I'd like to see her car from chapter 1 of the manga, the motorcycle her and Goku rode in, and the Capsule 341 ship. Her limit break can be something comedic or just have Oolong show up to be a giant rocket launcher or something. Next, I gotta go with Launch. She will be too funny to have in the game and she's the original transformable character, so how could she not get in? Next, I have Mercenary Tao. Now honestly, I just want him because he could fly around that massive pillar and he could ride on the Dark Nimbus from the filler. And for his LB screw, let him just kill you with his tongue. Now for Z characters, I really want to add King Kai. Like imagine how hard it would be with him driving on Snake Way. And for his LBs, we can actually see him use his own techniques like the Kaioken and Spirit Bomb. Next is Mr. Satan, and this is where we can get all our Buu Saga references in as he drives his car that Gohan has, or that silly tank he used on Fat Buu. He can also use Fat Buu as a limit break and turn people into candy. The next character I want to add is Jocko the Galactic Patrolman. He can ride around in his Galactic Patrol ship and shoot people with his gun. For his LB, I actually have no idea. Off the top of my head, all I can think about is that fat ass yell Amy did in Riders. Now, last but not least, we'll have the CAC from the Xenoverse series. No, I'm not talking about Band. I would just like whoever's developing the game to make a dedicated CAC character. They don't necessarily have to play all that different from the cast, but it would add a massive layer of replayability if we can get custom unlocks for our CAC. They can also have equipable transformations and limit breaks, and access to any vehicles in the game. But their default one will be the 315 capsule from Xenoverse, and an extreme gear from Sonic Riders because I want one! But yeah, that's still about 20 characters at launch. And because I'm not trying to be here all day, feel free to let me know what characters you want to see in this hypothetical Dragon Ball cart. Now let's move on into what items we can see. So with the items, since I'm going to be basing a lot of my examples off Mario Kart and I already kind of Dragon Balled up the game with charges, beams, and other mechanics, there's not going to be too many items, but enough to keep it entertaining. Now instead of item boxes like an MK, we gotta make it capsules as it only makes sense for Dragon Ball. You can find capsules throughout the courses and they come with various items like Roshi shells. Yes, I'm just stealing these from Mario Kart. Walk in! Key orbs, which will kind of be like coins as it'll help you charge. Milk cartons, which will basically be like the mushroom slash boost equivalent. Meat, which will help you regain HP. Sensu beans, where it could restore all of your HP. Rocket launchers that can act like red shells with homing. Scouters, which will allow you to see your opponent's ki and HP. Shield, which is that blue stuff from Dragon Ball The Breakers. It'll give you a shield that'll break if you get hit. Electric rice cooker. If you get hit by this, you'll get trapped into the Makuba and you'll have to mash your way out. A time ring that'll act as a sort of bullet bill if you're far behind, as it'll launch you to the middle of the pack. Dastron gas from Plan to Eradicate the Saiyans, and it'll basically act like Blooper. Now the next 3 items is where it gets kinda wicked. The first item is the Zeno button. This is basically the blue shell of the game, as upon pressing it, Zeno will instantly come to you and hit you with an erase, meaning that you'll be sent to charge back up and respawn. The next item is a Dragon Radar, and I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this as it is a Dragon Ball game. How could we not bring up the dragon who the balls make? Now the Dragon Balls will appear as their own separate item, and they can be found throughout the map, in capsules, or even in certain shortcuts. However, we're going to be taken from Dragon Ball Fighters in the sense of where one person collects the Dragon Balls, it affects the whole match as everyone gets a Dragon Ball, and whoever collects the final ball will be able to summon Shenron, and wish for things like either immortality or infinite ki for 1 lap. Now how we can make it interesting is how activating it could work. Say if the whole match has 7 Dragon Balls, in order to activate it you have to break and hold forward for 2 seconds, then you can make a wish. However, if you decide to hold on to the Dragon Balls, in the next lap your opponents will be able to steal it from you. That way you can't just hold it until the next lap. So just to make that clear, the person who gets the last Dragon Ball will have all 7, and if they can't summon Shenron in time, they have a chance of getting their Dragon Balls taken by everyone else on the map. So yeah, these are the items I would choose. I think these combined with the Ki Blast system and transformations will make matches be crazy unpredictable and unique to the series. Now let's get into some of the different stages we can get. Now let's assume we're starting with 28 different stages with 7 different Grand Prix. First we'll have the 1-Star Cup based off the Saiyan Saga. The first map will be Kame House as you fly around an open space and briefly touch down to Kame House, as well as that one island where Goku and Krillin used to train. The next stage will be the Wilderness and Wastelands. This map will be based off where Gohan and Piccolo trained, as well as where Goku and Vegeta had their first major encounter. You'll see falling rocks and dinosaurs, as well as things that can reference the Chala Head Chala intro. Next map will be Kami's Lookout / Korin's Tower. You'll start from the bottom and race your way up to Korin's Tower, pass it, and then onto the lookout. Stage obstacles can include things hitting you on the way up, as well as Popo.
I'm so f***ing high right now!
The last map in the Grand Prix will be Snake Way. In this you'll drive across the giant Snake Way all the way to King Kai's. Stage obstacles will include the snake itself, as well as Zambonis trying to run you over.
Get a taste of the Zamboni pony!
Next we have the 2-Star Cup, and I think it would make the most sense to start with West City, as it is the main location of Dragon Ball, and you can include stuff like Capsule Corp and other cool buildings like the towers from the DB filler episodes. Next we'll go to Planet Namek, where you can drive across the huts and oceans of Namek while being attacked by Frieza soldiers. Also here's where you can summon Purunga. Next you can race around destroyed Planet Namek, where the obstacles can be the lava bubbles and the threat of the planet blowing up every 5 seconds. Lastly, you'll race around the iconic sun from the intro, because that will be gas, and the space stage will be really cool. The next cup is the 3-Star Cup. The first map will be the Destroyed Future. You can race through a destroyed West City, and maybe include the Carnival from the History of Trunks special. Next is the Rigid Highways, where Android 17 and Vegeta fought. You can include references like Truck-kun and Dr. Gero's lair. Next will be the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, and to not make this place just a boring stage of white, let's pull from the anime filler and add the crazy climate changes like fire and ice elements. The last stage will be an adaptation of the Cell Games Arena. Midway through the stage it'll be destroyed and will act more like a battle hole / crash pit. The next cup will be the 4-Star Cup based off the Boo Saga. Featuring Satan City, you can have Orange Star High as a set piece, as well as making it Mr. Satan themed. The World Tournament stage, which you could base it off the whole island with people cheering at you from the stands. Next is Babbidy's spaceship. Now you can use this to make each lap represent one of Babbidy's minions' rooms. Then finally, the Land of the Tides will have references to the Boo Saga, like driving around the Z-Sword and the high mountains. Next is the 5-Star Cup, which will be GT focused. First you'll start on planet Mamasu. This is the planet from GT that had all the giant animals, as they will be a pretty fun stage obstacle. Next will be another wacky addition. It'll be the Suguruku space. This is the space between dimensions where one must play board games in order to get out of. And I think putting this as a map here can make for some very fun stage obstacles, as well as it just being a place you'd never see in any of the games otherwise. Next is Planet M2. You can give this a tech aesthetic and have robots constantly attack, as the stage warps and morphs around you to make more obstacles. Lastly, we have Planet Tuffle, and there's plenty of iconic locations to take from, like the place where Goku and Baby fought, to the city Baby built, all the way to the rock Goku first transformed into Super Saiyan 4 on. Now the 6-Star Cup will be based off Super. The first stage will be Beerus's planet, as this is the location we see the most in every arc of Super. You can drive through the training grounds and even Beerus's treehouse. The next stage will be the Galactic Patrol headquarters. Now this place will probably look like a combination of the Galactic Prison and the Galactic Arena from Fighters. Next we'll go to the Universe 6 tournament, where you start driving through the planet until it breaks and summons Super Shenron to drive on. Lastly, we'll go to the Tournament of Power stage, and this stage will be heavily destructible, and the backgrounds will change after each lap to fit the vibes. Now the last cup will be based off Dragon Ball Daima, more specifically the Demon Realm. I think an interesting thing you can do with this cup is replace some of the items like senzu beans with bugs in the shop. The first course is based off Demon World 3, which you'll drive through the cities and shops, through King Kadon's castle, and then you'll stop when Tamagami 3 appears as a stage obstacle. Next will be Demon World 2, which will have a huge focus on Tamagami 2 and water, as the giant octopus that the gang fought will be chasing you throughout the stage. During the last lap, you'll drive through the giant forest and try not to get stepped on. Next is Goma's Castle. This will be the Bowser's Castle of the game as you start driving through the castles throughout the courtyards and into the castle. Lastly will be the first Demon World, which will be based off the final showdown in Daima. Goma will be this massive stage obstacle here, as you'll have to drive through the back of the castle, and he'll make platforms that lead you to the final lap of the stage, and you'll chase him throughout the map until he eventually gets hit with a Daima and then defeated. And then you'll drive straight through the holes that the beam left through the Demon Realm. As the race ends, you get back to the third Demon World. Whew, that was a lot of stages, but I'm really happy with how it turned out, as you have all these iconic locations of the franchise excluding the movies. Now let's discuss the two main gameplay modes. Now, of course, we'll have a Grand Prix mode with all the chaotic items and maps I already spent the last 10 minutes or so yapping about. But this last mode is something special. If you ever played Kirby's Air Ride or Smash for 3DS, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. City Trial! No, not like a courtroom. Now, if you haven't played these old Nintendo games, by the way, Smash 3DS is a 10-year-old game, believe it or not, this mode allows you to drive around in an open area and collect various items to increase your stats. You can run into different enemies and bosses here to give yourself a challenge. After around 10 to 15 minutes, you and your opponents will be taken to participate in a random game, and depending on what you were able to build your character around will determine how difficult the game will be to win. The modes will be a 1-lap race, a mode where you can try and defeat your opponent, Destruction Derby where a player who can do the most damage to a map wins, a boss fight where you team up to take on threats like Merge Zamasu, Buhan, and Goma, finding the Dragon Balls where you go around the city to be the first to summon Shenron, and if you get hit, you lose your balls. And lastly, 2v2 team battles where you and your friend can go against another team in battle. So yeah, those will be the modes. I think something like a City Trial would be far better as a secondary mode for a Dragon Ball racing game compared to something like a battle mode in Mario Kart. As well as it having all the actual action and destruction one would want out of a traditional Dragon Ball game too. I guess the only thing we're missing are the gacha mechanics, baby! Let's go gambling! Whoa! Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. Are you mad that I didn't include Krillin or any of the other humans? Let me know about it in the comments. Now, I made this video to cause discussion, as well as let out all the ideas that have been beamed into my head over the last couple months. So please share this video around so we could get more people discussing the topic, as I'd love to hear what your Dragon Ball racing game would look like. I also just want to give a massive shout out to Kami Amore for making the thumbnail art and logos for this video. I'll leave their socials and the thumbnail art in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video, and leave hashtag Krillin4Racers in your comments so I can see that you made it this far. Lastly, for only 99 cents a month, you can become a channel member and see all my videos and shorts whenever they are ready, as well as some future Discord benefits that I'm finally getting around to making. Don't forget to follow my other socials too if you just want to see more of me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. But for I could totally see them throwing in a gacha system.